Hello, my darlings. How are you? It's been quite some time, has it not? Okay, so as you can tell, the start of this conversation, or I guess my video, would be I wanted to talk about several things. I'm going to start getting into, and I think I told you this before, previous in another video or several other videos, is that let me preface by saying that my videos have been archived is because I wanted to begin afresh. As we all know, all humans are constantly changing, and we're all becoming the people and hopefully in the direction that we choose and so desire to be. So in the stance of that, I wanted to archive most of my videos. I've been recording and sending out broadcasts for nearly a decade. Since 2014 is when my first video arrived on screen, and honestly, the reason that I began that video series and began talking about mindset work is because I really needed a way and an outlet for the experiences and the circumstances that my life was in at that time. And so it was very therapeutic for me. And I have received an abundance of wonderful emails and messages and things of that nature, and I'm so appreciative of those people, of you, that have stuck with me for all of these years. I know that my activity on the channel has been nil to none. A direct response to that is because when my son was killed, it caused me reevaluating my entire life. So that's very understandable for when something traumatic happens like that. That does not mean, therefore, that I did not continue forthwith and try and make the best and create my life and my reality the way that I wanted to. Now, like I said, as you can tell, the title of this video is, I'm not quite sure how I'm going to go about this process, because there's so many things that I want to teach you, but it seems like once the camera starts, I'm very much inclined to be all over the board, which I'm embracing that portion of myself because I understand that that's just the way that I work. I don't think it's a negative thing. Some people do not like, in a fast-paced society, a lot of people really don't want that. They want to like the method or the technique quite strictly, under the 14 minutes of a YouTube video, but I'm not that kind of criteria. I'm not that kind of content creator. And so if you understand that about me, you understand, or if you've previously been here before, now stepping on or swimming upon my channel, you understand that I'm very much that kind of person. I'm very much going to draw it out. And I think the reason that it's so important that I continue to be this kind of content creator or, authoress is because it's very important to gather the strength on context and in structure of things in life, because nothing is so easy and simplified in life, really, when it comes down to it. Don't you agree with me? I would think that you would, for the most people that have their head on screwed on tightly, you would understand that, there's context and there's a narrative that is created, and you need sometimes in-depth conversation or in-depth teaching to understand principles and technique and methods, and that sort of thing is what I teach as well. Many of these things will be in my book, The Little Mermaid's Transformational Tale, but I thought because I've really been, I don't want to pander so much to distinct, I think that it's important to put this information out on the internet and broadcast it, because there's many people in need, there's many people desiring to change their lives and not feeling that they have yet found the mouthpiece that where they can understand how to do that strategically, as well as how to go about it in the manner which is brilliant, forthright, courageous, graceful. This is This is a big deficiency in our society at this time. And I don't know if it's because we're in a Western civilization or, because we're American. But it seems to be that it's very difficult to find someone that has grace and virtue, as well as doing it in the way that, listen, my past videos were very, very instructional, and they were very teachable. Understandably though, I was in loads and loads of pain, which I feel that it is very important as a mouthpiece to send forth information that is more clearly defined and restricted, in the way that restriction, I mean respectful. And what I'm saying basically is I no longer have this attitude of me feeling that I'm angry when I'm trying to teach my methods or the way that I know how to manifest or achieve manifestations, or I like to call it demonstrations, because manifestation seems to be so overly used as a word, but I guess it's not that bad. It's instructional booklets, probably like 87 times, I guess. But anyway, I wanted to say also that I had teased some people on my Instagram that I had some very, very interesting manifestations that I had demonstrated. Now, I've demonstrated thousands of things in my life, enormous things, should we count the ways, my twin flame in 2 months, my being debt-free, financial abundance, my ideal body. I've always had my ideal body, because that's never been a challenge or resistance to me in my life. I've always, stayed around 120 pounds, that's just never been an issue to me. But it's probably because, anyway, the point being, I've manifested vehicles and a home with no mortgage. I've manifested so many things, but I also manifested one of my biggest things as of late is that I have been cast on the reality show. It's by Reese Witherspoon, has a production company called Hello Sunshine, and it's a reality show, competition reality show called Cottage to the Core. And so I have been chosen as a castmate for that show. So I'm very proud of that manifestation, because if you guys remember, if you dear hearts remember, in the year 2018, if you were at that time reading my blog and the several videos that I had posted on my YouTube channel, I had spoken about how to create a vision board. Now, that's very archaic in the sense that I never do that now. At most, I might pin something or a picture or some type of an image or something on Pinterest, but for the most part, I don't ever do that anymore. I follow Neville Goddard's teachings as we are the God of our reality, right? And so in that sense, I never really need to do that, because I've learned more. So I've implemented those new strategies and techniques and methods to my life. And so that's how I've been able to manifest. But I manifest everything at such an extraordinary degree that I thought that it would be beneficial. It would indeed increase the benefit of sharing those manifestations as success stories, if you want to call it that, and as well as how I do it, because it seems like, everyone has beautiful methods, and many people are on the YouTube that have done similarly or more extraordinary things. Like, I've yet to find them, but I'm just saying that I have found that often manifestors that are teaching manifestation skills and techniques and all that sort of thing they are very recluse, in the sense that oftentimes, I'm not saying that's all the time, understandably. Do you understand me? I'm not saying that that's all the time, but in my experience, I have yet to find people that have manifested such extraordinary things as I have, and that's spoken about them. Now, they might allude to the fact that they've manifested a relationship, or allude to the fact that they've manifested abundance and wealth, but they don't give a direct indication of what that precisely is, or how that precise manifestation demonstrated itself on as an example, in an example basis, which I really enjoy those things where I can really gather a sense of who that person is or their personality if I can hear what they've literally gone in detail about. Sorry about that, move the camera. But I find it very compelling when someone tells me the direct, exact thing, because when you have those different notions and descriptions, those different descriptions, specifically, it's very, very intriguing for me. And it also inspires me immensely for my own transformation. So I thought that being that I've not seen that on the YouTube or different channels, which understandably, like I said, they're all very lovely. The things that I have seen in those manifestation videos of these different subscribing, these different channels, I think it's wonderful and lovely for everyone that's doing their part to bring happiness, joy, taking joy, and love within our worlds as a whole. This big blue marble is so beautiful. So, but I thought I would toss in my tidbits as well, because I think that there are probably many people out there, loads and loads and loads of people out there that would enjoy and appreciate my particular perspective on it, unlike others. So that is why I wanted to start sharing these particular stories, especially like the success stories are really, really interesting to me. And I really, really enjoy telling them, because it's solidification of the way I'm able to, that I've mastered manifestation, as well as knowing that the only way that you can articulately teach principles and material is to become a student yourself. And so that's what I've been spending the last 3 years doing, is flushing that out, you know, because we're human. So there's so many different things that compel us to do or be the kind of person that we are. So today what I wanted to share with you is, I thought it would be fun to really break down why so many folks, and I've seen this, like I've said, I've seen this demonstrated in my life, especially in the last 3 years, that it's a struggle. And no matter how many times you try and teach someone or allow them to come into your life and your perimeters, that they're very reluctant to think about manifestation in the sense that they don't believe it anymore. This is the main point I want to talk about today, and that is the breaking down of who God is, what God is, why women most particularly, and people in general as a whole, but most particularly because I'm a woman, and I know that I had been in religion and theology until I left in 2015 or 14, somewhere around there is when I stopped participating in religious, curriculums. And the further I came away from religion, the more truth revealed to me. And so the first story that I want to talk about, and the basis of God, is my near-death experience. And the reason I want to start with this is because this is going to give you a structured foundation of why this particular incident happened to me, as well as what it caused the trajectory of my life to change. And also why this becomes, the whole ideal of God, G-O-D, which causes an immense demolition of it causes us to break down, and it fractures oftentimes relationships and people not quite understanding one another as a whole. Okay, so I have 4 children. As you all know, Sawyer, my second born son, has been, you know, he passed, and he, you know, he is now pure positive energy. I never say dead because he's not really dead, but if you want that word, I'll tell you, yeah, he passed and he is no longer with us. But I have 4 children, and so my oldest son, Carter, and then I've got Sawyer, which was my second born boy as well, Brooker, which is my third born son, and then I've got a daughter, 22, which is my daughter Zoe Kennedy. So I had 1 girl, 3 boys. When I was pregnant with Carter, my first son, through unmentionables, because it would be an entirely too long a video, he was breech. So I had to have a C-section with him. That's what the doctor recommended. Now, my doctor, all my boys were born in Alabama, and my doctor at the time, which I really, really loved him, he tried to turn Carter as he was breech. So I went in, he tried to turn the baby, but it was excruciatingly painful, and he recommended we just do a C-section. Well, throughout my life as a young child, you know, as I said, I was a Pentecostal Church of God. No, that's not the reflection of my clothes. I've just always loved Little House on the Prairie, and always deemed myself Laura Ingalls Wilder. And I loved her ever since childhood. And so, and now that after Sawyer died, I just picked it up and started wearing historical clothes every single day of my life with, you know, my chemise, my stays. I wear a corset, a petticoat, you know, pantaloons. I wear the whole shebang, you know, I wear the whole lot. And so, but that has nothing to do with, I'm sure maybe it did have something to do with it, but I don't think so. But I just love Laura Ingalls, and I love my bonnet, which I always wear. Anyway, point being that, what was my point being? So when I had my son Carter, and I know, anyway, so yeah, growing up in my religions when I was a young girl, and from the time I was, you know, in my mom's womb, from the time until I was 17 and I joined the Mormon church, I was, then I therefore became Mormon, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, which then at the ripe old age of 43, around 43, I'm 50 now, so 42, I guess, because it's been 8 years since I left theology. I had always been an inquisitive child. Even as a youngster, I was very, very inquisitive, always questioning authority, not in a mean way, because I was a very sweet girl, but I was always questioning and trying to understand doctrine, even at young age, like 9, 10 years old. I would go to my pastor after a sermon, and I would, you know, have these dialogues with him where he couldn't answer questions about, like, it would just be something simple like, what are we going to do when we get to heaven? Play with animals from the ark all day? Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. Like, he would get so violently angry with me that he would tell my mother that she needs to do something with me as a young girl because I'm too inquisitive and I need to stop asking such questions. And so it started at a very young age. So you only understandably, I'm going to turn out to be someone that's like putting a whole new fresh perspective on, you know, disengaging in religion and feeling that it's not, I mean, I understand and I respect women, especially. And the reason I say women so mostly is because I am a woman, and these are the things me as a woman have experienced in religion. Okay, that's why I'm very selective in me describing me as a woman. That doesn't mean that I'm excluding anyone else, you know, that it's exclusive in that way, but I'm just saying, speaking from my own experience. So I was always inquisitive. Okay, so when I went to have Carter, so that's taking me all the way up to when I was pregnant with Carter, and then I was going to have a C-section. What happened was I had always, like I said, I mean, consistently, asking questions to God, which I thought was God, this man, that it was this one man that sat, you know, I always tease and say it so sarcastically, but you've got to have wit, you know, you just got to have wit in life. But I say, you know, this big old man with a long white beard sitting on a fluffy cloud. So I would always ask God at that time, believing that that was the one person that deemed everything in the world, until I understood you are God and I am God. And I'm going to tell you that story right now, which I have never spoken of because I was very, very, not shameful, but I was very nervous and actually quite terrified to speak of it, because when you say such things, people will deem you mad, people will deem you insane, people will deem you crazy. And when I go in to have Carter, and you know, they don't always put you under, okay, but at this particular time I was starting to panic, because I know I wasn't feeling pain, but I was feeling pressure. And so when they put that sheet or that guard thing that's in front of you, so that if someone comes into that room, they could watch you, but you have to be awake in a sense, like you have the epidural, but you don't feel anything, but you're still not, you're not under. I couldn't handle it. So they had to make my husband at that time, at that current time, leave the room, because I was starting to panic and I had anxiety and I started flipping out. And because I had been reading all of these books about how, you know, what you're supposed to do and what it looks like, and the diagrams and the pictures and everything about like a C-section. And so I mortified myself in the process of doing that, which I should have never done. But anyway, point being, they had to put me under. So I was under, obviously, however long that takes for them to do surgery and whatnot, take the baby and all that sort of thing, okay? So I was under anesthesia, and what happened was I had an out-of-body experience. If you can imagine, okay, so I'm laying on the table. There, I believe, are 6 people in the operating room. It's the 2 doctors, I think, and several other people. I don't know who they were, but I know there was 5 to 6 people in that room. I clearly saw myself float above my body. I could see my body on the table, and there was no, as far as like sound from the hospital room, there was no sound as far as like what they were saying. So the people that were moving were strategically moving, as if just moving. And I remember being at the corner. So say my body's like this, I was at the corner, the left top side of my shoulder, and I could see myself. I was on top floating above my own body. And so I also I heard a noise. So I started asking the question, I don't understand. What is this all about? What is this purpose that we call life? And I said, I want to understand it. I don't understand it. What is this all for? And as clear as day, I could see a white light. And I know that sounds so like trivial because everyone says that, but this is my experience, as I saw a white, bright light. I could not see any kind of vision of any person or anything like that. Now, mind you, I'm 21 years old at this time, because that's when I had Carter, my firstborn. I had all of my children by the time I was 26, I had all 4 of my children, okay? So I was like having babies left and right. So, but anyway, so I'm very, very young. I've only been in the Mormon church for what, 17, 18, 19, 20, 24 years at this point. So then I see the light, and it's so bright, I can't look at it. But I remember the feeling of having this utter peace, and like it was so beautiful that I wanted to go wherever it was towards that light. And I remember saying, I want to go, I want to go, I want to go. And the voice very calmly said to me, you're more than welcome if you would like. And again, I said, I really want to go, I really want to go. And again, the voice reiterated for the second time, you're more than welcome to go. And I said, I really, really would like to. It's so beautiful. And I said, what is this all about? And the sound of the voice came to me and said again, you are God. They are God. We are all gods for one united effort for all of consciousness. Okay, now let me tell you something. When I tell you that, I woke up. Okay, so anyway, let me finish out that. So then I asked again. I didn't understand it because I was like, I remember looking at the doctors and stuff, and like their hands were just moving and everything was so quiet. But I remember looking at these people in this room and thinking, I love them. I love everyone so much. They're so wonderful. And it was just a beautiful, beautiful experience. And then I remember saying, I really want to go. And then the voice said to me for the third time, you're more than welcome. And I said, yes, but I really want to stay and care and raise this baby. And that was it. And it just kind of went whoosh, like a vacuum. And then I came to, and I remember thinking, like I started resisting the doctor because I could feel a tugging. Have you ever felt like a tugging? Like, have you ever been sunburnt and you can feel someone peeling the skin off? It doesn't hurt, but you can feel it and you're like, oh, like it's kind of like that. Well, that I knew they were stitching my wound, they were stitching my stomach up, and it terrified me again. And so then the doctor made me go out, like he said, give her anesthesia again. So they put me under. So I was under for a lot longer, like another hour or so, and then I came to and I came forth and everything. Well, I have to tell you that even after that, it would be 30 years, near 30 years that I would come to accept that was true, because I didn't understand it. I never told anyone about it because I would think they would thought I was crazy if I was saying, no, you're God, I'm God, we're all gods. And it sounded absolute mad to me. It sounded maddening. And I was just like, I didn't understand it. So obviously I ignored my inner being, but I knew what I had seen and felt and heard. And yet I denied it because it terrified me. Because I was raised and grew up in a church that believed that there are a place you are going to, and it's called hell, and you're forever going to burn in it. But if I were to tell you that everything in the Bible was not a historical event, and it could possibly be, if you're open-minded enough to understand it, that it could have been a metaphoric philosophy for life and just a beautiful instruction book. And everything is deemed with a metaphor, and it's a spiritual metaphor. And so if you cannot, maybe this video is not for you, because I know at the time I can understand though. I understand the outrage or the anger or the pity or maybe even the sadness that you might think me saying that sounds as if I've been down in a downward spiral and swiftly lost soul. And the reason that I can understand you in that sense is because I too was that way for many, many years. It terrified me because of knowing if I were to lose that sense and lose grip of fear, because that's what religion oftentimes is based in, is fear, okay? That it was terrifying to me. Now, other people might not be so terrified in hearing that, but for me as a young girl and then being raised in two very, very strict religions, it absolutely terrified me. And so I wanted nothing to do with it. I just did not want anything to do with it, not whatsoever. Until, obviously in 2014, when my life was a shambles and I was starting to come unraveled and starting to go on this voyage and this journey, which was going to reveal so many things to me. I understand. And that's why I think it's important for me to share my story, which, like I said, I will also in my book that comes out next year. But it's been a lot to dive into because it's very, very in depth. And it's not like any book I've ever read. Besides maybe, even Neville Goddard doesn't go into details as far as like his personal experiences to an in-depth degree in many cases. But that's not because he's, it's just because of the times and situation, they didn't have the things that so progressively as they do now in modern times. But I wanted to share that with you because I would love for you to go on this voyage with me, and let's go on the voyage together because it's much more fun with friends, right? As a family unit, or like a friendly unit, you know what I'm saying? Like a community of sisterhood, and without it being deemed like a religious group or anything of that nature, because I feel that it makes women that are not religious feel unwanted and not a part of something. And we all want to be. It's in our human nature to be a part of something and to feel together and to feel connected. And that's why religions do so well, because when you have many, many people that are very scared and insecure when they're alone, it helps to be in a group because you feel that you are more powerful in a group. But if you love yourself and you have immense self-love and self-confidence and knowledge and truth on your side, it's always going to prevail. And you could be standing alone on an island out in the middle of the Atlantic or the Pacific, and all alone, but you still never feel scared or fearful because you are God. You are a goddess. You are God. So everything that you do, you have the power within your mind, your own wonderful human imagination, which is the I am of you, the God in you, to create your reality. And that's what we're going to do. I'm going to help you. It's a mermaid's map for how to create a life you love. And I hope that you come back, and I hope that, so what we'll do is talk next about the breakdown of who God is, what God is, besides me just telling you that it's your own wonderful human imagination. I'm going to help break down that particular definition so that you understand it on a more in-depth degree, because I'm just flagrantly telling you all these, lovely stories and not going in depth about everything. You're still not going to get a grasp on it, because there's hearers and there's doers. And oftentimes many people are hearers, but if you're just a hearer and not a doer, you are not going to be able to stand alone. You aren't going to be strong enough. You will falter, you will fail. The foundation below you is going to fall. You can't build castles upon sand, that old saying, right? And so we're going to go in depth about that. And then the video after that will be me speaking about the definition of God, okay? Then the next one after that is going to be why in life, if you are in disagreeable circumstances that you find unpleasant in your life, I'm going to explain to you why those keep cycling back and forth to you. They keep cycling like the number 8. It just keeps going round and round, and you keep getting the same thing that you've gotten all these times since, since the dawn of time, since you were born, right? And I will explain to you how you're going to change that with the beliefs and all of that sort of thing. But also we have to get to the understanding of what the subconscious mind is and the conscious mind. So we're going to go in depth about all those. So I hope that you'll join me on the next broadcast. And as always, I'm most affably yours till my next swim. Toodle pip, darlings.